Welcome to the Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast. Lieutenant Colonel Ken Crigliano, your co-host. So I guess that we will find something to talk about.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
What did you guys talk about last week? Sounds
Good
like a
question.
lot.
We talked about that the Olympics has esports now.
Yes.
And of course, you know, none of us, all these machismos on the line, nobody had a clue.
Oh.
And so we had to look it up live. You'll see we're buffooning around, and we were really blown away by like how they were implementing it. Like you're doing motion capture and you're doing taekwondo, and like we all naturally thought that it would be like Valorant and you know all these popular games, but it's like no, they made these games up. And well, there's like one game, right? A lot like a racing game, right? Car racing game.
We talked about it. I mean, I think what it really came down to is we were talking about the practicalities of it all, and then and it kind of bled over into episode 19 where we were talking about what are the others, about how there's cheating in online games and how you have to manage that, you know, competitive integrity and the incentive of having Olympics esports as opposed to traditional sports, right? Where's the incentive? Where's the money? What's the purpose? What are the logistics and all that? We kind of went on that tangent. By the way, today, this recording would be episode 20. Hey.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. See, we're working our way up, you know?
Building a catalog. Look at us.
It's crazy, man.
Well, that's interesting. One of the things I was writing about when I burst a blood vessel. I was up so long writing. I was looking crazy. But one of the things I ended up on an interesting topic, sort of the reality of gaming versus reality versus simulation versus neo-reality. So there's an author who way back in the day talked about how play is part of life in the same way that religious rituals are part of life, and that your reality is a reflection of who you are. So when we go through these games that have this, like the tennis games that are trying to mimic reality and the golf games that are trying to mimic reality, he's saying that your brain is doing the same thing, and that it's very interesting, sort of like what you deem is real versus what others deem is real versus where reality is going to be in the future, when we can say, you know, yeah, I visited Mount Everest, but it's the it's the virtual version.
So talk more about like how that's intertwined and with us as much as like religion is.
Yeah, so what he was saying was all of these religious rituals. So take the sacrament, for instance. That's basically an imaginary, and I don't mean to offend the Christians, but that's basically an imaginary thing happening in your mind where you say, this is now the body and this is now the blood.
Right.
And it's no more real than virtual reality, where we're saying you are now looking at Mount Everest, or this is C3PO. So that's the parallel that he's drawing, is that all of the rituals are built cerebrally in your mind, just like these games. And I thought that was really interesting.
So it's like, I guess it's a spin on the word faith, right? So faith is believing in something that you don't have a lot of tangible or any tangible evidence in. And so, I guess like you immersing yourself into a game in a virtual world, you're stepping into a faith-like experience.
Exactly.
Make it real.
You release your expectations of what normal reality would be, in the same way that you do if you're walking around the doing the Hajj. He was saying, it's that same buy-in. So like if someone yells, the ground is lava, then the ground is lava.
My kids watch that today. They love that thing.
Oh, really?
The floor is lava. They go crazy.
Little kids will leap when you holler, the floor is lava.
Yeah. It's amazing how they can do that, right?
It really is. So that's what I thought was interesting. Like, where do you release your logical mind and feel free to just play? Feel free to just engage in a belief structure. It's not real. You're not, chawing on the body of Christ. But
Right.
that the floor is not really lava. But if you internalize, you buy into this structure, the rules of the particular playscape, then it's the floor is lava.
This is interesting because there is a David. I was listening to David Goggins the other day, and he went and saw like this guru on like virtual reality, and they put him into this like simulation to see how he would do, and he was 0%. Like they were measuring supposedly they were measuring his biometrics and everything, and he was totally unfazed. They put him on a mountain, put him on a cliff or a roller coaster or whatever. And he was just like, yeah, I mean, this is, I know I'm standing in a room. And
oh, wow.
My mom and my wife's mom, like we put him into virtual reality. And I mean, the funniest video I've ever seen in my entire life, bar none, even better than Dave Chappelle, is my wife's mom on a VR roller coaster. I mean, she was screaming at the top of her lungs, and it was absolutely hilarious. And it's just like I put my son in there, and he's just chill, cool as a cucumber. And I'm just interested to see like what, like, can you or Bilal, can you talk to about that phenomenon on someone's in a virtual environment in like some are phase, some just totally immersed in it? Like, what is that? I don't know it.
Well, it depends on the sensation, right? Oh no, April, you were about to say something.
Oh no, I was gonna ask, just like Chris Hemsworth, there's a show that he's got on Disney, and one of his fears was a fear of heights. So before they made him walk out onto this plank out over the Sydney Harbor, he did it in VR, and he basically said, that was just as scary. Because again, something in your mind is telling you you're in danger. That same chemical reaction is happening, telling you you're in danger, even though it's some part of your mind knows you're in a room, like you said.
So I'm interested in this because I'm just forming this in my head right now, but like I'm not really afraid of anything, like I feel like I'm pretty cool with most things. Like something happens, whatever, I'm not really afraid. And I'm wondering if there's a correlation between people who have some kind of debilitating fear or just a strong fear and I don't know if it would be an inability to discern virtual reality from actual reality, but do you think there might be like a correlation there?
I do. I let Bilal answer. He's our medical expert.
Bilal,
what's up?
Professional medical opinion. Come on. Did you get what I meant? Did you get what I said?
Yeah, I do not have a professional medical opinion on this. all I can say is that when it comes to virtual reality, what I think of is it really depends on the sensations. Like, what are you afraid of? If what you're afraid of has to do with visuals, then I would think virtual reality would, do something to kind of help you cross that barrier of, okay, I'm no longer afraid anymore, right? I would think, right? But what if, I don't know, let's make up something. What if you're afraid of a smell? Like, how could virtual reality help you out with that? So I think it also depends on the fear. Maybe heights is one of those things that is more visually involved in the same way that a fear of spiders might be visually involved. But that doesn't necessarily translate to all types of fears.
We have a researcher at Illinois Tech who he's in our psychology department, and he uses VR to treat people who have mental disorders that lead to hoarding. So he's been doing research for many years on that, and quite successfully, he's been able to immerse people in this space as it is. Like, they take the scanners from civil engineering, they go and they scan the real spaces where these folks are sort of living their pain, and then they virtually help them declutter things and help them shift their thinking so that they're not what and one of the things that he said about the hoarding problem is that it's not that they're just innately broken or messy, it's that they value everything. So, like, they'll look at a gum wrapper and say, oh, I could use that for some craft project, or they'll look at, their value is different than our regularly expected. So having the VR in there lets them throw things away virtually before they have to try to throw things away physically. And he's had some really good success. But I think it's, again, as VR gets more and more prevalent and more real and more connected to real spaces, like that is like they scan your room. I think it's definitely got the power to impact. Coming to our event on May 6th is Michael Wren from ARVR Chicago, and they've done some really cool sessions around that.
Yeah, this is cool. So go back to this hoarding thing. So that's interesting. I've never heard of that. Like, people who hoard value everything. That's why they don't want to throw it away. So makes so much sense. So this dude in this team goes into their actual house. Yeah.
And I can send you a link so you can see them. But it's really exciting research. And again, it's not research on virtual technology, it's using virtual technology to treat a psychological disorder.
Are there more examples of this?
Then this link that I just popped in here,
Well, like
VR to
more,
treat.
yeah, more examples of using VR and gaming for like mental health
For real
solutions.
things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I actually joined Warrior Gamer Foundation. I wanted to help Josh build out a VR program that would help the girls who are victims of sex trafficking, and that's what he's doing down in Arizona. Was working with the kids who are, and in that space down there, it's really prevalent actually.
Hoarding is?
No, the sex trafficking. Sort of recovering from sex trafficking. And one of the reasons that VR is helpful there is because it's a space that they can control. And having a space that's fully, like gaming offers a space that's fully under control, and that gives their mind a repass, and it helps them build their stamina and their strength and their resilience back up.
Yeah, because those victims, I mean, they've given up all control. Yeah.
And they feel they have no power to even go to the store or walk away. Like, people say, oh, why won't they just walk away? And they really, truly are conditioned to serve. Just like others are conditioned. They've been conditioned to deal with what these pimps are putting them through.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a very sensitive population for me as well. And I've made it public many times, but like my one of my ultimate goals is to have a human sanctuary where we can bring in these populations and decycle them, right? Decompress them and help them to get back to being functional, because nobody should go through that. I mean, it's awful.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, people think that slavery ended. There are so many sex slaves in this country right now, of all races, of all colors, of all creeds, that we are far from having slavery over. And I think that it's not part of the common conversation because people are afraid to talk about it. It's embarrassing. They don't want to, they don't want to bring it up. But what that does is it leaves a lot of girls, particularly girls from war-torn countries with nowhere else to go, who answer ads, girls crossing the border, girls, and they're 14, 15, 16 years old, answering for an au pair job that turns out not to be an au pair job.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. I know that got dark, but that's one of the biggest, I think that's one of the biggest uses that I'm looking forward to for VR re-education.
But that's the important part of what you spoke of, that if VR can be used for something that almost seems like has no solution, but then you incorporate VR and suddenly there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that essentially is testament to the power of VR. It's not just some game or just some fangled new device. This actually has the power to make substantial change in society.
Absolutely, 100%. And then the other space that VR is, less is, digital twinning of factories, where instead of people actually going to the real factory for maintenance work, they train on a digital twin in VR. So doing that work has really, really blown up and given people an opportunity to learn how to fix an engine if you're nowhere near an engine. Learn how to, really, Caterpillar had one of the first fully VR training programs to train their staff and to document the knowledge that their older people had as they were retiring in 3 dimensions. So like before, they would just document it. All right, here, we wrote you a manual. But with VR, they can, do this right here, turn this right here.
Yep, that's what our fearless leader, Josh Otero, is doing with the Power Up Academy, trying to make virtual reality training lessons and tools and stuff, which is pretty cool. And I just pulled up a National Institutes of Health article on virtual reality as a clinical tool in mental health research and practice. And I consulted ChatGPT, which is really cool because it said biofeedback games, which is something that I had not thought of, which is actually a really awesome application of VR for mental health stuff, which is cool.
Absolutely. And that helps people with other issues too, like, people with anger issues, people with violence issues. Those rhythm games are so important. Being able to completely lose yourself in a tap or something like that, or a Beat Saber or something that is engaging and relaxing. Those games are, I think, hopefully people will do more research to prove this out, but those games are so important to bringing folks into a calmer, and I know we've talked about flow state in the past, but shifting where you're at, like when they're just anxious and angry and don't know what to do and are overwhelmed, or the states that are just too much to bear. A rhythm game can be such a wonderful break in that cycle of emotion, that torrent that bounces around in your head.
How interesting that you talk about the applications of VR for one's health and rhythm games. I mean, this is right up my alley. I talked a few episodes earlier, about how rhythm games were excellent for people to kind of clear their head. They were a tool that I use to clear my head before exams. They're a tool for who I believe a certain population of people, specifically those on autism spectrum disorder. I've mentioned this before, how the repetition is excellent. And then I also spoke about how previous episodes, even further back, we talked about how VR can be used to help prisoners rehabilitate into the ways of the modern day. I mean, the applications of gaming at large, I mean, they're largely quote unquote slept on. People are just ignoring them and overlooking them in exchange for something else that may not even work. And yet this is probably one of the most fun, most cost-effective, most efficient ways to bring healthcare out to the masses.
Absolutely. And like you said, the training, when we did our last event at IIT, Jeremy from Stanford, who's amazing, he's the guru in this space. He brought examples of police forces that were using VR for sensitivity training and for understanding, understanding when to shoot and when not to shoot, and understanding their environment and what words trigger people. Because a lot of the problems that we have are that these very young people don't understand a whole different culture and what the triggers of that culture are. So if you can train in VR to say, if you say "you people" to certain folks, they're gonna take that as an offense. And if you're from Oklahoma in 22, you might not know that. But we can train in VR with no harm, no foul, and get people more sensitive to all sorts of issues.
I think, and I'm starting to get like smarter on this, but I have noticed over the last couple of years, rhythmic activities and folks on neurological spectrums is fascinating to me. I have seen kids who are clearly on the spectrum and they are just incredible with, like, they'll listen to music and they're cool. They'll get on a swing. There's a child that lives nearby here, and every single day his dad takes him on that swing. It doesn't matter. Early in the morning, it doesn't matter if it's sleeting, snowing, that kid is on that swing, and he'll be on there for an hour. And it's just like his smile, and there's just something with rhythmic activities and music and beats, and like, I think we're on a cusp of a renaissance on how to, better understand folks on the spectrum and to get them into comfort. I don't know if that, makes sense to you guys, and if you have anything to comment on that, but it's amazing for me.
No, that makes sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
because essentially, and what you're also doing too is, the swing, the playground, these are social environments. The arcade where you find rhythm games, it's a social environment. When you hop on Discord for a rhythm game Discord of some kind, just think of Dance Dance Revolution. It's one of my favorites. It's a social environment, right? So you're also giving them a place to interact and develop themselves socially, whereas in the past, oh, you have this problem? Well, we're not going to associate with you. Now there's a space for them. It's huge.
Absolutely. This is in the chat. I put in Jeremy from Stanford, Jeremy Bailenson. This is what his where's my chat?
All
I
right,
got you. I got it in
Being
the
a
show
boomer.
notes already.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bailenson.
Awesome. So his research is, here's the quote. Most research focus on how virtual experiences can transform education, environmental conservation, empathy, and health. And he started like 25 years ago.
Wow. Look at that. His first book, Infinite Reality, emerged as an Amazon bestseller 8 years and was quoted by the US Supreme Court. Good for him.
Look at that.
Good for him, man.
That is incredible. Look at that.
Well, hey, can you get him on the show, April?
Yeah, probably. I got him to come to our event back last year. So I bet he would come. I'll ask him.
Yeah, we've talked about virtual reality so much. I think it's our most talked about topic.
Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah, we got it. We got to get him on.
we got to get him on. He's awesome. He's a lot of fun.
I'm hitting him up on
Oh, just
LinkedIn.
thinking about that it's already super exciting.
Oh, he's not on there. He's not on LinkedIn, girl.
No, he's not. You got to know him to get him.
All right. Okay.
Ooh, exclusives. Okay.
He's one of those. So many people are after him.
So you're telling me we, or technically
But
you,
I'll
we have the
email
inside
him.
scoop.
He's though it's just amazing. He's got a whole classroom that's got walls and walls of VR headsets,
Oh my
all
gosh.
different brands, all different sizes.
It's incredible. We need to do an on-location show.
Ooh, Stanford's so pretty. Let's go.
Yes. Let's do it.
Oh yeah,
It'll be
that's
our
not too
first
bad.
field trip.
Yeah, Infinite Reality published 2011.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've been doing this work a long time.
You know, so oh, go ahead. Sorry, Bella.
Oh no, I'm just thinking, what was I doing in 2011? Wow.
Farting around.
Yeah, like 8th, 9th grade around there. That's what it was. I was hardly doing a damn thing.
Oh my God, you're in 9th grade.
Yeah, a
Oh,
lot has
wow.
changed.
God. I was in Baghdad.
Oh, wow.
Man.
It's so funny. With your beard, you don't look so young. So I want to, I don't have the book. So I am jumping like way deep into reality creation and manifestation. And that's something that I want to do like for my life. And so it's really cool because I see in my mind this union between the virtual immersive worlds, the worlds that we build in our head, and
Mhm.
then the subsequent creation of that. And so I did a 2-hour session today. I'm training this world leading hypnotherapist on what I'm calling advanced performance hypnosis, try to get people into a state where they visualize themselves, in the future and get rid of the luggage and everything. And we talked a lot about like how we're going to build those worlds in people's heads,
Yeah.
drop, all that stuff. And so I see this union of like, well, I was telling her like I make advanced press releases and I take letterheads from companies, and like I take Air Force letterheads and I build them. When I built like my promotion statement, I put it all around my house a year ahead of time. And whenever I'm going to do a race and I want to win, I do a video of a press release and I'm on there and I'm pretending I'm the announcer, and I make music. I rip music off YouTube. I don't care. And I make my own workout tracks and I'm on there like, Ken Crigliano come in first place. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands up, blah, blah, blah. And like, I just see like where we can do this union of like creating these specialized immersive worlds for people to create a reality in the future, Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
power of visualization.
And understanding who you can be. There's a world there's a couple worlds right now. All these companies are racing for the metaverse. One of them is called Conectado by my friend Guillermo Diaz. He used to be the CIO of Cisco. And his metaverse is very similar to what you were talking about. What he's doing is creating a platform for kids who have no exposure to any type of career path, and giving them in this virtual space exposure to all the different career paths that are related to technology and growth and prosperity. Same with Destiny, that Destiny metaverse guys. They're doing very similar work where you're in so they're trying to address the issue that people say, kids in the hood want to be a rapper, an athlete, or a policeman. Not anymore though. Rapper, they want to be what they see. And so the goal of these two metaverses is to expand what they see. Like they don't even want to be doctors because they think it's hard and they think that school's too expensive.
Looks like this is it. What he's doing here.
Yeah.
So, looked it up. Conectado.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
cool. I don't know. I don't know Spanish, so no idea.
Not yet. Isn't it gonna be great when we can do like the Matrix and just, I know Kung Fu, plug it in, I know Spanish.
Exactly. Cool. All right. Well, I think that this is good combo, and yeah, I think I'm good. This is great. Virtual reality, mental health, creating your own reality, I think is pretty cool. So question, Bilal, before we go, do you intensely like visualize yourself as, I know that you haven't completely set your mind on what you're going to study at the final end, but do you see yourself like clearly at the end?
Yeah. I mean, I visualize it from time to time. It's important to.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, then I'm just focused on the short term, and the short term right now isn't so fun, right? I've talked about this too much. It really isn't. I don't really enjoy studying, but I enjoy work and making a difference. So I have to keep telling myself, okay, just buckle down for another couple of years. It'll be okay, you know. And that's what I do. The long-term goal is essential. In fact, that's what anybody ever tells you. If you just look at fitness, what do they say? You know, set a goal, set actionable steps. Well, in order to set a goal, you need to first visualize it, right? So visualization is key in really everything we do. So I do see myself at the end of the road. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. What I want you to do is I see you like at TED Talk, TEDx, right? Or South by Southwest. And you know, you're 2 years into it, 3 years into it, and you have this like breakthrough methodology. And you're just up there and you're just like, guys, gals, I just want to tell you the breakthrough that we've had on this research of gaming, mental health, whatever, right? And I can see you up there, man. And if you could, maybe that's not the exact topic, but if you could just see the stands and everybody in it and the whole platform and the speakers and just everybody and the lighting, I think that would just be the coolest, man. Because I see it for you.
You know, funny you mentioned that. I did think about that. I do see myself one of these days giving a big presentation, bunch of people there, just sharing and, you know, spreading the word. So recently, actually, we had a optional project we could have done. And I said, okay, you know, I'll do an optional project. And the optional project I did was just writing a quick essay on like, okay, you're a doctor and here's your patient, and your patient tells you they play video games. What do you do? Now, what do most doctors do? Can you take a guess?
Oh, that's nice.
Yep, that's it. It's kind of nice. Just make sure you're not playing it too much. They don't really know. They don't really appreciate. And so all I did was in that essay, I just talked about, okay, here are the steps that you as a healthcare practitioner need to take to just kind of bridge that gap, take that first step and appreciate what it is. And I gave them reasons. Okay, this is why you need to appreciate it. I mean, it isn't some, like, it's not Nintendo Entertainment System where the limits of how good you were how fast you can move like the Pong paddle up and down. You have like a $400 console you play for 30 minutes with your family, and then you shelf it up somewhere in the attic and then it collects dust. Gaming has changed a lot since then. People are using it for problem solving skills. People are using it as an escape. People are using it for scholarships, jobs, you name it. And the reality is 90% of kids play video games. 90%. And I talked about previous episodes, and we've talked about this, how, you know, when we're playing video games as kids, right? It was just a few of us, but now it's literally every single one. Well, I mean, except the 10%, of course. But we're seeing this rise. And I tell people, especially those in my class who aren't going into like pediatrics, because I mentioned kids a lot, I say, you know, maybe you're not going to see them now, but once they turn 18, you are going to see them. And what's the likelihood that they're going to drop those games? I mean, I sure as hell didn't. So you are going to see the effects of gaming long term. So try to understand it. And then I also they told me, okay, you can submit an essay or you can do an audio recording. And I just had the itch to do the audio recording. So I did. And while doing that, I had this realization. I said, you know what I should do? I should write a book on this. I'm too lazy.
No,
But I really want to. Like a part of me wants to. It's just so
Hey,
much work.
wait. You know, I'm the book guy. So, I want to be. So you want to write a book
Mhm.
that is, let me just make sure I understand, that helps physicians incorporate the lifestyle of gaming, a habit of gaming, the hobby of gaming into their integrative medicine practices.
Kind of, sort of, right? I mean, it's really to understand. There's already a book. It's about esports medicine specifically and how, the kinds of like health benefits and drawbacks you have. I mean, if you look up, I believe it's called the Handbook of Esports Medicine, Clinical Aspects of Video Gaming. Yeah, that's the one.
No way.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. But
Wow.
I think I want to do, because like where I've always been, in all my life, I've always been within the academic sector and literally everything I do. It didn't matter whether it was video games or exercising. The approach I've always had to things was academic, and the environment that I've always been in was academic, specifically school education. These things are super important to me. And so what I want to do is kind of bring that education to, healthcare practitioners as well, and just kind of show them, okay, this is what you need to be looking out for. And then also to parents, hey, parents, this is what you should be looking out for, because what we need is to, as a society, to fully understand, but we need somebody to obviously teach that. I think I can do it. So, I mean, there's nothing stopping me from doing that. It's just I'm lazy. That's it.
How can you do this? How can you do this making it complementary with your studies? Can you like?
Yes. It's not so much. I mean, because right now most of the work I'm doing is just whatever's thrown at me, and then I have like an hour at the end of the day to just recharge before I have to do it again the next day. So there isn't a whole lot I can integrate it with in my day-to-day, but in a way it's still related to what I'm doing, right? It's just something I would have to do in my own time. Kind of like this podcast, it's something I have to do in my own time. You could call this volunteering, but it's not the same kind of volunteering as, oh, I'm, helping the blind, or, oh, I'm, doing local outreach at an elementary school. No, I'm just spreading the good word of video games and mental health. Right? It's a little bit different, right? And so in the same sense, like maybe I can't directly integrate it into my day-to-day clinical rotations that I'll be doing next year. But what I can do is, take some time at the end of my day, write a little bit here, write a little bit there, and just over time build it up to something that may or may not culminate into an actual book that could be sold somewhere. I don't know. Yeah. Sounds like a good idea.
I like this. And I want to refer back to episode 13 with Dr. Drew Schwartz, who's doing this stuff. And, hey, what kind of chair are you using in your gaming and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, just want to refer back to that one because that was a good episode too, if you're interested in that topic. And then I think that's all I got. And I love it, Bilal. I think your brain, as you go to bed, is going to start churning on this. And I think you're going to come up with something pretty cool. And I'm very excited to hear.
I think it's going to be awesome. I think one thing I'll just add, I learned, again, just going through this grueling writing experience for the last week, one of the topics that I covered was, Malcolm Gladwell wrote Blink. And in the book Blink, he covered a military exercise, MCO2, I think they called it. And in it, they showed how if they had been true to the game, they would have learned a lot of different things. But instead of being true to the outcome of the simulation, they kept changing the rules of the simulation till it met what the people paying $250 million for the simulation wanted it to meet. And I think that's the scary part about VR in the real world, is that we have to be wary of bringing our own bias and our own hang up in there, and to truly let the game reveal its truth rather than, trying to make the game make the outcome something that it's not, particularly when it's a simulation.
100%. I've been on so many, war games are different exercises, but I've been on so many war games and exercises, and every single one I'm just like, what are we doing here? This is like, you're wasting money. So I'm totally with you on that. And it's such an exhausting thing. I don't do them anymore. I just, unless I'm totally forced, I will cannot go to,
Oh,
or they're in Hawaii. I'll go to
or they're in Hawaii.
Yeah, but that's it. So, and people watching who familiar. Oh yeah, we were there.
We went to
So
Hawaii.
yeah, to just hang out and whatever. So okay, so I want to say thank you for everyone's time, and this was a really good topic, really good episode, and it's going to help a lot of people. And I'm super excited to when we start getting like thousands of views. So
Yeah, we'll get there.
one day.
We
Yeah.
might, so we just need one influencer to pick us up and say say a word.
You saw the episode number 15. I was actually sharing this podcast with a friend, and I said, we're slowly picking up in views. Yeah, one of them just got 10,000. You want to see that?
Jim Pool, right?
Jim Pool, yeah.
Yeah.
Got to do more of that. Got to do more of that.
Yeah, he's Tony Robbins is a fan, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But all right, team. Well, I love y'all. Have a great night, and hopefully we see each other in person soon.
Yes, that would be wonderful. On that trip to Stanford.
Yes, be awesome.
Totally.
Let's go.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Warrior Gamer Headquarters Podcast. Out.